Welcome back to NovaStream, your 24/7 home for live crypto markets, global financial indices, and the breaking news that moves them.
Hey everyone.
If you're watching the stream right now, you know we track every massive swing in the market.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've got the BTC and Solana Sparkline charts ticking by, the S&P 500 updates, all of that.
Yeah, the markets never sleep.
But right now, we are actually going to step away from the minute-by-minute tickers to bring you the highlights of the day. Because, well, there's just a fascinating convergence of events we need to untangle today.
There really is. I mean, the sheer volume of systemic shifts happening across the globe right now, it's forcing us to rethink how all these moving parts connect. We're watching these seemingly isolated headlines just collide.
Yeah, they really are colliding into a much bigger story about, resources, security, and who ultimately pays the price. So I want to start with the concept of a modern fortress.
Okay, I like that framing.
Historically, right, national security meant high walls and armed guards. But today, a fortress has to exist in two realms simultaneously. You've got the physical concrete you can touch, and then the invisible digital infrastructure that you can't.
Right, the cyber perimeter.
Yeah, and breaking news out of Washington today perfectly illustrates both of these fronts. On the physical side, we had a really severe security incident near the White House.
Yeah, that was terrifying to watch unfold on the wire.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So just after 6 p.m. Eastern, near a security checkpoint for the Eisenhower Executive Office building, a gunman basically pulled a weapon from a bag and opened fire.
Just right out in the open.
Right. And the Secret Service returned fire immediately, killing the suspect. But tragically, a bystander was injured in the crossfire.
Oh, wow. That is awful.
Yeah. It triggered this frantic 40-minute lockdown of the press briefing room. Now, President Trump was inside the White House at the time, but he was unharmed. And FBI Director Kash Patel just confirmed that federal agents are on the scene supporting the Secret Service investigation.
So that's a very violent, very real test of the physical perimeter. But the crazy thing is, it happened at the literal exact same moment the administration was making these unprecedented moves to reinforce their invisible digital perimeter.
Yeah, the digital side of this is wild. The White House just authorized a secret $9 billion request to purchase NVIDIA's cutting-edge Grace Blackwell superchips. And this is specifically for the CIA and the NSA.
$9 billion, just for chips.
Right. And apparently the intelligence community is just drowning in raw data, like oceans of top-secret espionage intercepts.
Yeah.
But they're falling behind because they simply can't deploy the latest AI models on their classified networks.
Well, the bottleneck there isn't the software, right? It's the sheer physics of the hardware.
How so?
I mean, the Grace Blackwell superchip is a monster. It requires these highly specialized liquid cooling systems, and it pulls a staggering amount of electricity from the grid.
Like way more than a standard server farm.
Oh, vastly more. And the military and spy agencies, they rely on AI to sift through millions of intercepted communications to find anomalies. But without the specialized data centers to run those models, the AI is effectively grounded.
It feels like trying to run a state-of-the-art, hyper-realistic racing simulation on a 1990s dial-up internet connection.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
They have the intelligence data, but they completely lack the computational horsepower to process it and get the car out of first gear.
Right. And it's deemed such a critical vulnerability that Chief of Staff Susie Wiles actually authorized the NSA to bypass standard Pentagon supply chain threat designations.
Wait, really? They bypass their own security rules?
Yeah. They are overriding their own internal protocols just so they can utilize Anthropic's advanced AI model as fast as possible.
Wow. That really highlights the desperation of this digital arms race. But, hardware doesn't just materialize out of thin air.
No, it definitely doesn't.
When the U.S. government drops $9 billion to corner the market on the world's most advanced silicon, and then you have trillion-dollar tech giants doing the exact same thing, that supply constraint violently ripples outward.
Somebody downstream is going to get completely priced out.
Yeah, and let's talk about those unintended casualties. Because big tech companies, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, they are on a $700 billion AI infrastructure spending spree.
$700 billion. It's almost hard to comprehend.
It is. And the people paying the ultimate price for that, it's the hardcore gaming community.
Yeah, the PC builders are feeling the pain right now.
Let me tell you about this guy, Jaden Weaver. He's a 22-year-old gamer. And he's spent years building this massive, sprawling Minecraft kingdom with his 9,000 YouTube followers.
Oh, like the really intense modded servers?
Yeah, we are talking fully functioning virtual airports, terraformed deserts, the works. But today, he is completely priced out of upgrading his PC.
And that's because the components Jaden needs to render those virtual worlds are the exact same raw materials OpenAI and Microsoft are hoarding.
All right, the RAM and the GPUs.
Yeah, look at a baseline 32 GB RAM kit, which, is essential for keeping these heavy applications running smoothly. That has skyrocketed from $150 to $560 in just 1 year.
That is insane inflation.
And if a creator needs a 64 GB kit for heavy modding or streaming, they are looking at $1,000 easy. Plus, NVIDIA is actively slashing the production of their consumer-facing graphics cards.
Just to shift factory capacity to those data center chips we were just talking about, right?
Spot on. They are pivoting away from the consumer.
Well, wait, I have to push back on this strategy a bit, because if you look at the history of computing, gaming essentially subsidized artificial intelligence.
Oh, 100% it did.
Right. Video games provided the structured playgrounds where early algorithms actually learned how to function. I mean, Dimas Hassabis, the founder of Google DeepMind, he started out coding the video game theme park.
Yeah, his roots are entirely in gaming.
So isn't big tech basically biting the hand that fed them here? Like, are companies like Microsoft risking the destruction of their own consumer-based families, buying Xboxes just to chase this data center gold rush?
Well, the gaming community is aggressively making that argument. Julian Tegelius, who is an AI researcher at NYU, he literally calls this an ongoing culture war.
A culture war between gamers and AI developers.
Yeah, because look at NVIDIA's origin story. They only survived bankruptcy back in 1996 because of a $5 million cash injection from the video game company Sega.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was followed by a massive contract to build the hardware for the original Microsoft Xbox. Gamers are the foundational reason NVIDIA even exists today.
And now those same consumers are facing stagnant game development and delayed hardware releases.
Right. Gamers feel betrayed. They're arguing that they are being priced out of their own hobby only to be peddled lower-quality AI-generated slop in modern games.
That is incredibly frustrating. But, that hardware squeeze is really just one symptom of a much broader consumer pain point right now.
Yeah, the economic pressure is definitely not limited to PC builders.
No, it is hitting every American consumer this week as they buy groceries for their Memorial Day barbecues. We actually have some fresh CNN polling data on this.
Let's hear it.
And real quick, as anchors here on NovaStream, our job is to report the data strictly neutrally, right? We take no political sides. We just want to highlight the financial reality on Main Street.
Absolutely, just the numbers.
So the numbers show 61% of Americans have actively cut back on groceries to stay within budget, and 59% have cut back on entertainment.
That is a huge majority of the country feeling the pinch.
It is. And politically, the data reveals that 75% of Americans, and that actually includes 55% of Republicans, they state that President Trump's policies have increased the cost of living in their local communities.
And to understand the mechanics of those rising costs, we really have to look at how global trade policies are shifting.
Specifically regarding tariffs, right?
Yeah, tariffs. A tariff is often framed in political rhetoric as a penalty paid by a foreign nation. But the mechanical reality of how it works is very different.
The foreign country doesn't write a check to the U.S. Treasury.
No, not at all. A tariff is a tax collected at the border, and it is paid by the American business importing the goods. So that business then faces a choice.
Right.
Absorb the loss or pass it on.
Yep. They can take a massive hit to their margins or pass the cost down to the consumer.
Yeah.
And almost universally, those costs end up on your receipt at the checkout counter.
Which acts as a hidden tax on the consumer. And those global trade mechanics are radically shifting as we speak. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is actually currently in New Delhi doing some serious diplomatic damage control.
Because of the new tariffs.
Yes. President Trump recently slapped 50% tariffs on Indian imports. Now, the administration states this is to correct global trade imbalances.
But the timing's a bit suspicious, right? Very. It's raising a lot of eyebrows because these massive tariffs were implemented shortly after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi refused to nominate President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize regarding his role in regional ceasefire.
Wow. And the diplomatic fallout from those tariffs is fundamentally reshaping alliances in Asia right now.
How so?
Well, because of this sudden tariff shock, and because the U.S. is simultaneously pursuing a partnership with China, India feels deeply vulnerable.
They feel left out in the cold.
Exactly. They fear the Quad alliance, the strategic partnership between the U.S., India, Japan, and Australia. They fear it's being sidelined.
So how is India responding to that economic threat?
They are actively easing border tensions with China. They're allowing new travel and investments, and they are urgently looking to the European Union to establish new trade blueprints just to keep their economy afloat.
The traditional way of looking at this is like a game of geopolitical musical chairs.
Sure.
But honestly, it feels less like a strategic game and more like snapping a major cable on a massive suspension bridge.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Because if you sever the economic connection on one side with a massive 50% tariff, the entire weight of the global supply chain violently shifts to other supports. In this case, China and the EU.
And that means raw materials, pharmaceuticals, tech components, they all become vastly more expensive and harder to secure for American companies.
Right. And that kind of supply chain volatility creates immense corporate fear.
It does. Companies are dealing with rising geopolitical tensions, massive infrastructure costs for AI, and a highly vulnerable digital ecosystem. But, where corporations feel fear, Wall Street sees opportunity.
Always.
Yeah. And that is why we are seeing a massive surge of capital flowing into cybersecurity stocks right now.
Well, let's break down that market opportunity because the fear seems to be driven by this new concept I keep seeing in the tech briefs. They call it agentic AI.
Yeah, agentic AI. It represents a fundamental shift in how computers operate.
How is it different from the AI we use now?
Well, until recently, AI was conversational, right? You asked a question, it gave an answer. Agentic AI is autonomous. You give it a goal, and it takes action on its own across the internet.
Give me an example.
Imagine an AI travel assistant that you've given your credit card credentials to. It goes out, negotiates with airline databases, and books a flight entirely without your input.
Okay, that sounds convenient, but also terrifying from a security standpoint.
Highly terrifying. Because imagine a hacker intercepts that agent and tricks it into handing over your payment data, or worse, corporate secrets. Because the AI is making autonomous decisions, it opens up these totally new vulnerabilities for corporations.
So if the infrastructure is essentially building itself and acting on its own, the old security walls just don't work anymore.
Not at all.
I know analysts are pointing to a projected boom in cybersecurity stocks through 2028 to combat this, but I see them throwing around jargon like vendor consolidation for companies like Palo Alto Networks, ticker PANAW. What does that actually mean for this stock?
Vendor consolidation basically means major corporations are tired of buying 20 different specialized security programs from 20 different companies.
It's just too much to juggle.
Yeah, it's way too messy to manage. They want one massive unified shield, and Palo Alto Networks provides that overarching umbrella.
Got it. We're also tracking CrowdStrike on the stream, ticker CRWD, where analysts expect a massive 22% compound annual growth rate in sales.
Huge growth.
Yeah. And then there's Zscaler, ticker ZS, which focuses on something called zero trust architecture.
Zero trust is absolutely critical for this new AI landscape. Historically, corporate networks were like castles with a moat. Once you got past the front gate with a password, you were trusted to just roam the halls.
But zero trust changes that.
Yeah, zero trust means the system assumes every single user, every device, and every AI agent is a potential threat at all times. It demands constant verification for every single action, even if you are already inside the network.
Wow, so no one gets a free pass.
Nobody.
For value investors looking at this space, the legacy giants are jumping in too. Microsoft, ticker MSFT, is stepping heavily into the security space.
Yeah, and analysts note they have a surprisingly low forward PE ratio right now.
Meaning the price investors are paying for $1 of their future earnings is quite cheap compared to their growth potential.
Right.
But honestly, the most fascinating evolution to me is MasterCard, ticker MA. Their stock is up 11,000% since its IPO 20 years ago.
11,000%. That is incredible.
And it is not because people are buying more lattes with their cards. 40% of MasterCard's revenue is now driven by what they call value-added services.
Which is a very vague term. What does that actually include?
We are talking fraud prevention, identity verification, complex data analytics, and massive moves into B2B software.
Okay. Well, the traditional credit card swipe fee is under intense regulatory scrutiny globally, right? And competition is fierce. So MasterCard realized the real money isn't just in moving the funds.
It's in securing them.
Exactly. It's in selling the security and the data surrounding that movement. They are insulating themselves from the whims of daily consumer spending by becoming essential to corporate data protection.
So if MasterCard is generating that much revenue from cybersecurity, fraud prevention, and B2B tech platforms, Are they essentially a tech security company hiding in a financial services trench coat?
I love that framing. That is spot on.
Because the traditional swipe seems like a secondary feature now, especially since they have officially enabled over 1 billion users to spend crypto directly through their networks.
And MasterCard's integration of digital assets perfectly illustrates how the lines between traditional Wall Street finance and the crypto ecosystem have permanently blurred.
It's all becoming one big system.
Yeah, this isn't just about niche internet money anymore. The legacy institutions are actively building the plumbing for digital assets to flow freely.
Which brings us to the live crypto markets, where we actually just saw a massive regulatory milestone. The SEC has officially approved NASDAQ to list Bitcoin index options.
This is huge news for institutional adoption.
Yeah, for the viewers tracking the ticker on our stream, it will be listed under QBTC. Let's make sure we understand the mechanism here, though. How does a Bitcoin index option actually work for a big institutional investor?
Okay, so an option is simply a financial contract. It gives an investor the right, but not the obligation, to buy or sell an asset at a specific price on a future date.
Okay.
Think of it like putting a non-refundable deposit down on a house. You do that to lock in the purchase price for 6 months, regardless of what the broader housing market does.
Makes sense.
In this case, the underlying asset is the CME-CF Bitcoin Real-Time Index. And that index pulls price updates from major exchanges every 200 milliseconds. But NASDAQ is dividing the index by 100 to make the options cheaper and just more accessible for a wider range of portfolios.
Now, the crucial mechanism here is that these options are entirely cash settled, right?
Yes, entirely.
There's no physical Bitcoin changing hands at the end of the contract. So an institutional fund manager doesn't have to worry about cold storage or USB drives or securing digital wallets from hackers.
Nope, they just settle the difference in US dollars. And this allows traditional hedge funds to execute these really complex risk management strategies without ever touching an unregulated offshore crypto exchange.
It makes it so much safer for them.
Yeah. And while Wall Street integrates the derivatives, we're seeing smaller corporate structures entirely rewrite their DNA just to capture this momentum.
Like 21 Capital.
Yes. Look at the recent market reaction to 21 Capital, ticker XXI. Their stock surged after Tether bought out a minority stake that was previously held by SoftBank.
And following that capital injection, they announced a complete pivot to a Bitcoin-native operational model.
Right. They plan to merge their corporate treasury with active financial services and massive Bitcoin mining operations.
Okay, let me push back on this enthusiasm for a second. Because we hear the phrase institutional adoption thrown around constantly on financial streams.
We do.
But if you look under the hood at a company like 21 Capital right now, they have zero actual operating revenue. They're currently operating at a total loss.
Sure.
So if a company has no cash flow and is essentially trading as a leveraged proxy, just riding the price of Bitcoin up and down, aren't we just putting a fancy Wall Street suit on the exact same volatile crypto speculation we have seen for a decade?
Oh, that skepticism is entirely warranted. I mean, announcing a pivot is easy, right? Executing a profitable mining operation while also building financial services, that is incredibly difficult.
It takes years and massive capital.
Exactly. So for 21 Capital's stock momentum to last, they have to prove they aren't just a hollow holding company. They need to generate actual sustainable cash flow from those mining rigs.
And ultimately, their short-term success is tethered entirely to the broader crypto market, pushing past heavy resistance zones.
Yep. If Bitcoin stalls out below that $90,000 to $100,000 range, the shiny Wall Street suit will not hide a lack of underlying operational fundamentals. The market will see right through it.
Man, we have covered massive ground today. I mean, we started with bullets fired near the White House and moved through billions spent on intelligent superchips, gamers being priced out of their hobbies, global tariffs reshaping trade, autonomous AI demanding new security infrastructure, and Wall Street packaging Bitcoin into cash-settled derivatives.
It's a lot to take in.
When you pull all of these seemingly disparate threads together, what is the core narrative here?
The core narrative is that we are watching the rewiring of the global operating system in real time.
The global operating system.
Yeah, the billions flowing into artificial intelligence and digital assets. They're not just changing stock valuations. They are altering how intelligence agencies hunt threats. They are inflating the cost of the microchips inside your living room electronics.
And forcing nations to abandon old alliances just to secure raw materials.
Right. The digital world is consuming massive amounts of physical resources, power, water, silicon, while at the same time the financial markets are rushing to digitize physical assets. The physical and digital realms are no longer separate. They have fully merged.
And as those realms merge, the barrier to entry is just skyrocketing across the board. So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you watch the charts on the stream today.
Yeah, think about this.
Next time you boot up a video game or swipe your credit card or honestly just pay a little extra at the grocery store,
Yeah.
ask yourself, are you just a consumer going about your day, or are you actively subsidizing the foundation of a new digital fortress?
Yes, the real question.
Because if the development of the next generation of computing, like AI and these massive digital ecosystems, if it's increasingly walled off by secretive government agencies and trillion-dollar tech giants who are pricing out everyday innovators and gamers,
Yeah.
who will actually control the virtual and financial world to the future?
Something to keep a close eye on.
Thank you so much for tuning into the highlights of the day. Remember, NovaStream is live 24/7 for all your market tracking and breaking news needs. Keep your eyes on those charts, stay informed, and we will catch you in the stream. Goodbye for now.